Okay, now let's talk about the assumptions of strain theory. Um, and they might be different from what we might expect from criminologists, right? So, Robert K. Merton, in particular, as well as Robert Agnew, talk about these assumptions. The first assumption is that crime is not natural. If you watch popular culture in the way of media or even music, videos, we hear terms like born criminal or other terms that would make us believe that some people are just ingrained with the proclivity for violence and aggression, and by extension, just criminal behavior. But not strain theorists. They don't assume that crime is natural. They say crime is not natural. In order for us to engage in crime, strain theorists say that something externally imposed on us must push us or compel us to commit crime. We would all like to be law abiding citizens, according to strain theorists, right? We would all like to behave in accordance with social expectations. Most of us are not rebels looking to defy the law or other rules that have been in place, that have been put into place according to strain theorists. All of us would like to live up to social expectations, to be righteous, to be good, and to live in an upstanding way. Again, we wouldn't normally commit crime, but usually, according to strain theories, we do so because external forces have placed us in a situation that we do not like. And as a result, people may try to claw their way out of that uncomfortable situation, literally by hook or by crook. Secondly, stress, frustration, and strain are products of failed aspirations. When do you feel most stressed in your life? When do you feel most frustrated? Oftentimes, it's when things don't turn out as you would expect. Let's say you study hard for the exam and you still don't make the grade that you believe that you should, or maybe if you're an athlete, you work out in the gym, you practice and try to develop your skills, but maybe you don't make the team or you don't achieve the level of athleticism that you would like to. That results in frustration. And so again, stress, frustration, and strain usually results when we have a goal in mind, we have an aspiration in mind, and for one reason or another, we don't achieve it. The greatest pressure, according to strain theorists, to achieve is within the lower class, right? That kind of makes sense, right? Lower class folks have the fewest resources at their disposal, right? They usually have the least access to education. They have the least access to other social amenities. Let's even take something like education and say, let's say you're not doing so well in school. Well, for people who have the means to do so, maybe they could hire a tutor, a private tutor who could come in on a daily basis and encourage them and reinforce concepts that have been presented in their courses. But what about students who don't have those financial means? I mean, private tutors cost a lot of money, right? And so if you think about it in that way, the greatest pressure to succeed is really within the lower class. And they have farther to go before they can reach success versus a person who is, let's say, born into a middle class family who may not have as much access as others, but they have a good moderate degree of access that can help them to build upon the gains of previous generations. But folks who don't have those means are at a marked disadvantage. So the greatest pressure to succeed is within the lower class. All right. Next, we have this idea that strain is often linked to distorted aspirations, unrealistic desires, and materialism. Wow, there's a lot built into that point alone. Distorted aspirations. Let's go back and talk about that athlete who wants to be an Olympian and they train very hard. They're in the gym on a regular basis. They are eating the right things to build up their bodies. But no matter what what strategy they have employed, they don't see themselves performing at peak level and don't see themselves as being able to perform at a level where they can become the Olympic champion that they aspire to be. Well, for some of us, that might be a distorted aspiration, right? Some of us just don't have the physical composition in our biological chemistry, our biological makeup to achieve extreme athletic feats, right? So it was probably unrealistic to set those aspirations in the first place. Yeah, a lot of kids say they want to be an astronaut when they grow up, but they may not have the proclivity and ability in the sciences and in math and in engineering and all of the challenging coursework and learning that goes into becoming an astronaut. Maybe it was just never realistic for them as an individual because of their limited intellectual capacity. And it's not to say that everybody's not valuable, not to say that everybody can't contribute, but we all have different abilities and we all have limitations on what we can do in our finite beings. And sometimes we set the bar too high and we're just not able to achieve some of those aspirations. We want to do what we see in others. We want to do what we admire in others, but we may lack the intellectual or physical ability to do so. And our attempts to do these things can result in frustration when we fail, when we desire what is unrealistic in the first place, right? So that's what we mean by distorted aspirations. It's also a failing to see what's really important, a failing to see what's right or true. And that's where materialism comes in, right? All of us want to be wealthy, we want to be respected, we want success, but many of us forget that that may not be what's most important. Maybe it's most important for us to be the best daughter or son that we can be. Maybe it's most important to advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves. If you think about people with, say, disabilities, maybe what's most important, what's our purpose in our lives, is to make the world a better place. Maybe it's not to be rich, but when we leave, the world is a better place. Maybe that's what's important, but it's easy to lose sight of that when we have distorted aspirations. So what I want you to do now is stop and take a look at the video clips that I have posted to this Canvas module so that you can learn a little bit more about the American dream.